Hey everyone, there's something that I've been doing and it's really improved my productivity and my focus and my concentration and energy levels, all things you'd want to improve typically. I've been doing it for about 4.5 years now, and ever since I've been doing it and discovered it, my life has completely changed, and it's facilitated a lot of health and business transformations for me, and it's intermittent fasting. I'm going to explain how I fast, why I fast, when I fast, all about it basically. My name's Charlie Morgan. I have built and scaled 2 companies. One of them is called NorthFlow Consulting. It's a marketing agency. We scaled it to 7 figures and sold it. The second business I run at the moment is called Imperium Agency. It's a multi-7-figure coaching business, and we help people systemize client acquisition. The purpose of this YouTube channel specifically is basically to help people make client acquisition easier. Now, I'm making a video on intermittent fasting today. How that's related to client acquisition is, if it's related, is debatable. However, if you want to build client acquisition systems, and if you want to be successful, if you want to do it properly, you need to be able to focus, and you need to have energy, and you need to be able to think clearly as well, which is another really strong benefit that I've seen personally from intermittent fasting. I want to introduce this video by giving you a heads up and a warning that I am not a health professional. This is what has worked for me. It may not work for you, but this is my experience and I found a lot of value in it. Hence why I'm sharing it. So if you try this and it doesn't work, and I'm sorry, right. So intermittent fasting. So when I first discovered fasting, intermittent fasting, for those of you who have been living under a rock for the last 10 years or so, is a practice that dates back to very ancient societies, and it aligns with the human body's natural evolution. It basically means having a block of time in which you eat food, and a prolonged period of time throughout your day and night typically where you don't eat any food at all, and you essentially starve yourself and you don't eat anything. If you think back to how humans evolved, like on the African plains, for example, or in the jungle, we would hunt and we would gather, and at the end of the day, we'd have one big meal, or 2 big meals that would be the fruits of our labor, essentially. We eat what we kill at the end of the day. That's how the human body has been built to function and thrive and survive. And the human body, when you think about how hunting works and gathering works, is if we know we're not going to eat anything until later on in the day, the body basically has way more energy when it hasn't got food inside of it, which is paradoxical because obviously energy comes from food. But I found personally that when I'm fasted, it's when I have my most concentration, energy, and focus. However, I've also found there's a diminishing return on my fast. So I don't eat basically from 8 p.m. to 12 p.m. So I only fast for 16 hours a day. When I first started fasting, I tried doing 22 hours and I tried doing 20 hours. And I found that that was a little bit too much for me. I don't know if I actually sat with it long enough or if I was just breaking my fast with the wrong foods. But I also found that it was quite healthy for me to have my fast break at 12 p.m. because then it actually allowed me to work for 3 hours or so and then take a break and then go back to work, and the break would be facilitated by eating food. I fast between 8 p.m. and 12 p.m. and what I find is, first of all, it gives me 2 benefits to do with sleep and productivity in the morning. So I find that I sleep better on a relatively empty stomach, and if I eat lots of food prior to going to sleep, I find it harder to enter deep sleep, REM sleep, and my heart rate and my body temperature and my heart rate variability typically become out of whack, because when you digest or when you're eating something, your body has to send energy and blood to your gut to absorb the nutrients, and that's energy and blood that could be elsewhere in your body repairing muscles and doing things that help you sleep better, essentially. And also, if you eat lots, it naturally raises your body temperature because your body has to deal with all the food, and story for another day. When you wake up and you don't eat anything, right, for the first couple of weeks, this tends to be extremely hard because your body is so used to the rhythm of diet, right, where if, you're like, some people try fasting for 2 weeks and say it doesn't work because they get hungry in the mornings. It's like if you condition your body to not eat anything in the morning for a month and put up with the nausea and stuff that comes with doing it initially, you'll find that your body will adapt, because the body always adapts. Unless you're diabetic, I wouldn't recommend it, or pregnant or something like that. So I don't eat till 12, and what that means is the first 4 hours of my day at work, I'm working from 8 till 12, all of my energy and attention and focus can go to my work, not my gut. So you've got to realize your gut and your brain, probably the 2 most important organs to your function. What I mean by that is it's pretty widely known that the brain accounts for a very small amount of your mass, but it accounts for a huge, it's asymmetric in terms of how much calorie intake it requires to function. So the brain, maybe it accounts for like 5% of your body mass, but it requires 25% of your calories, specifically like kilojoules and energy burned by the calories, right? But the gut at the same time is also very large, but it also requires a lot of calories to run. So when it's not doing anything and it's empty, all of the energy that would be going to your gut to digest can actually go to your brain to work. And there's obviously a paradox to this, because you need your gut to you can't just not eat throughout the whole day, because then you've got no energy to send to your brain because it has to burn it. This is why I like to eat a light lunch and then eat a very heavy meal after work, because that's when I don't have to concentrate or do anything. So a couple of things with intermittent fasting I found. What you break your fast with is more important than when you break your fast, right? So when I started fasting, I would get really hungry and then like I'd break my fast with like huge meals, and it had this opposite effect whereby I would like suddenly enter this massive slump right afterwards. I'd have this like 4 or 5 hour window of complete serenity and focus, and then I'd eat this massive like 3,000 calorie meal in one go, and then afterwards I'd be disabled for the rest of the day essentially. And that went on for a while, and I just thought, oh, intermittent fasting doesn't work. But then I realized I should just extend my eating window or push it to later in the day and eat later. So that's one tip I would strongly advise. Also, when you break your fast, it's useful to break it with something that you find it easy to digest basically. So I break my fast every day with oatmeal with porridge, and I have peanut butter and blueberries with it, and that's what I eat basically essentially for lunch. It's kind of like breakfast. But I find that by not eating refined sugars or processed foods or anything like that I can it sort of just burns a very clean flame and doesn't fog me out and doesn't give me inflammation in the gut, which through the vagus nerve would obviously give you brain fog. So I find that really helpful, and what you break your fast with is extremely important. And you don't want to go eating loads of breads and milks and pastas and carby stuff. It's fine in the evening because you need to eat that stuff to keep yourself going. But so yeah, that's that. I also found that the further that I get into the fast, the less effective it becomes. So like 16 hours for me is a very good sort of range, because otherwise if I keep going I just end up thinking about food too much. The second benefit that I have inadvertently experienced, autophagy I think it's called, and that's basically the idea of if your body cannibalizing cells that are not conducive to a healthy body, if that makes sense. So if you don't eat anything for a long time, then what starts to happen is your body has to find energy from somewhere. And so the theory is that it naturally will look at your body and it will scan for cells that are dangerous or dead or bad for you, essentially. I don't know much about this, so you can sort of see how trite my language is here. But it will find the cells that are technically bad for you and digest them and use them for energy. And there's a lot of research and anecdotal stories to indicate that intermittent fasting is a great preventer of cancer or a great cure for cancer, whereby if you've got these cells that are invasive and cancerous to the body and the body has no choice but to digest itself, it will naturally look for the cells that are most dangerous to it. I don't really know if that's true or not, but it's always nice to know that even if there's a 10% chance it is true, that fasting can potentially save your life. And I find it to be really cool. It also helps me massively manage emotions and energy levels. So if I'm going to make an important decision in business, I'll always make it in the morning, because A, that's when I haven't been exposed to decision fatigue too much, but B, because I know that I've got a very clear mind, right? My body's not trying to deal with any food. It's not trying to digest anything that it finds hard to digest. There's no like massive spike in blood glucose that has an impact on my energy or fatigue levels. Like my emotions are very stable and steady, and fasting facilitates a good emotional state, which I find to be very conducive towards good decisions which lead to a good business. So yeah, that's kind of my experience with fasting. It's not anything too shiny or exciting. It's just something that's really helped me. It's helped me get good at client acquisition, because to be good at client acquisition you need to have focus and a rational mind that isn't riddled with constant up and down emotion, right? So it's pretty cool to have this fasting thing that facilitates that. But yeah, that's fasting. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please subscribe. Any video ideas you've got, comment below. If you like this video, it would mean a lot to me. Have a good day. Take care.